दिल चाहता है ta na 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 ta ti ti ta. This song is so synonymous to road trips, isn't it? Road trip to Goa with your friends. That's the picture that you get in your mind every time you listen to this tune. Well, this 32-year-old also was on the road trip, her first road trip to Goa with her friends. She had told her family, "We are going to go from work after lunch. I'm going to have the fun of my life." And she was really looking forward to it. Well, all of them were stuck at work and they managed to leave only at 7. Like a teenager, she was very, very scared to inform her family that they're leaving at 7 and they'll be driving all night. She was scared that they will say, "Oh, don't go today, leave tomorrow." So she just didn't message or take their calls. And in case they did message, she just replied, "On the way." They started their journey, stopped over for dinner, and then continued. The night was beautiful for her. As her friend drove, she looked at the highway. It looked like the maze of the video games with the reflectors on the highway shining away. Listening to songs, she just kept looking. She let out a scream. There was a bus in front of them, and all she heard was, "Oh shit!" And the next moment, she was on the ground, immobile. A few moments, there were a lot of bystanders and police. Lot of confusion, people trying to help all the 4 passengers in the car. Brown bag, back seat, phone is all she went on murmuring, for she wanted to inform her family herself. In spite of all the confusion that was going on, she was very, very cognate. As soon as the police got the phone, she blurted out the number and she informed, "Come soon, met with an accident." Her boyfriend was sitting in the front seat and he was wearing the seat belt. He escaped with just a scratch on his forehead. He managed to get her some first aid, and within a few hours, she was in the ambulance with her father in the front. Her brother-in-law as a pilot vehicle in front of the ambulance, making way, and her boyfriend holding both the legs. For they were informed that she had multiple fractures and her body had to be as still as possible. It was a bumpy ride. She was screaming in pain, and in the middle, she managed to utter a few love yous to her boyfriend. As the ambulance wheeled into the hospital, her mother and her sister rushed to her. As she was being taken to the emergency ward, she kept screaming, "Amma! Amma!" in the pain. But her mother could find out which Amma was her call when she just met her eye for a few seconds. The waiting outside the emergency room felt like years for the family. And when the doctors came out, they said her life was at stake. Multiple fractures in all the major bones. The next 48 hours was very, very crucial. And if she did make it, then they could think of all the surgeries. There was some faith, trust, and hope in the family that she would make it. And after 48 hours, she underwent many surgeries, long 8-9 hour surgeries to fix the bones. And with 5 rods in her body, she was in the ICU for 15 days with epidural and heavy painkillers. Maybe because of that, she didn't feel the pain much and her zest was up. Every time her family member came to see her, she had that broad smile on her face and said, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Brother, just write, 'Hi, Akka.'" Akka, no, write donkey, monkey. She would write letters as she would dictate to the brothers and sisters, for her sister was not allowed into the ICU as she was 8 months pregnant. And they would exchange letters. After 15 days, the day she was shifted to the ward was when the gravity of reality just hit her. Weaning off the epidural and the painkillers, the pain was excruciating. She screamed. There was not a second which went silent in the hospital. The family thought, will we be able to manage her? Will we be able to provide all that she needs in the house, or should we just extend the hospital stay? But she wanted to go. They made sure the room where she was as comfortable for her. She was taken back home in a stretcher, for she couldn't sit. The stretcher was taken up the flight of stairs as they lived in a first floor. And as she lay on the bed, which was her bed, she didn't know what was it going to be. Multiple thoughts in her mind. Will I be physically challenged forever? Will I get that tag? What will happen to me? Thoughts went back to her childhood when she felt sick and she would say, I don't want bread. Give me idli. Huh? It's too cold. Get me a cover. But now, she was completely dependent. Dependent in how? Amma, Amma, I want to pee. Appa, I want to pass my stools. She had no other option but to call her family for even to pee and to pass her bowels and get cleaned. The endless nights, the sleepless nights her parents, her mother especially, spent, for she felt her mother's hand on her chest, checking every now and then if she was sleeping or if she was okay. Will I be ever sit up? Will I be ever be able to walk again? Tears flowed. She just had her left hand to just wipe it off, for on her right hand she had a rod. Both the legs immobile with 4 rods, unable to move. Will I marry my boyfriend? Will he still love me for how I am now? Or will it be just out of pity, or is it true love? And in case we do get married, will I be able to make love? How will our life be? With all this, one more thing shattered in her mind. That was her perception that her mother loved her sister more, which she had carried with her for 32 years. She was glad that perception just shattered. She knew that she was also the apple of the eye of her mother. She was looking forward for that sunshine, her little nephew or a niece. But that sunshine became a rainbow baby. She held herself responsible for that as well. That guilt that she drowned in. She had a visitor every single morning. A visitor who instilled more physical pain than she could ever bear. Her physiotherapist. She knew that she had to give in. She had to give that 100%, for in just few weeks, she saw some movements, though not on her own, but with the help of the physiotherapist. He was an unwelcome guest, but welcomed with a lot of love by the family. After 3 months of the accident and being bedridden, is what she heard. As with the walker, she took that first step. Tears in her eyes, in her mother's eyes. She thought, how privileged I am that this memory of the pride, of the joy in the mother's face when a baby takes first step is etched in mine. For I'm sure none of us remember that look on our mother's face when we took the first step, isn't it? She was privileged. That was the first step, and there was no stepping back. Though her family said, take it easy, we'll take one day at a time, she said, no, I want to get back to work. It was difficult for the family. It wasn't easy financially, but they said it's okay. But she said, no, I want to get back to work. And just 8 months after the accident, she went back to work. And how? Her dad took the wheelchair and the walker down. She sat on the first step, and it was a flight of 20 steps. She crawled down one step at a time. And as she went into the cab, there were tears in the eyes of her mother, filled with pride. Her father was filled with joy. And her sister was always backing her up, and her brother-in-law just hugged her and said, all the best. 1 year after the accident, there was a lot of hope in her, for her boyfriend wanted to marry her. And she knew for sure that it was true love. But the family was skeptical like any other Bollywood movie. But she convinced them, saying, this is what I want, and I'm sure this is the best thing to happen to me. They agreed, and then the series of thoughts of self-doubts. I can't walk properly. I still limp. How will the wedding rituals happen? And they said, it's okay. We will do everything that you want. And without the stick, she walked up to the stage, limped, and sat on the chair when her fiancé, now the bridegroom, sat down through the wedding rituals, and they got married. I want to go to Goa for our honeymoon, she said. What? Goa? Are you sure? He asked. You think Goa is jinxed? Let's prove it wrong. Let's go to Goa, she said. He said, anything you want. And they set out with Dil Chahta Hai, Kabhi Na Beete Chamkile Din. And that is the story of raising from the ashes. And that 32-year-old woman was my sister, who came up and that got a new life and is leading a beautiful life now. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. And let's all come back.